Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. We had a couple technical difficulties there, so we're starting a little bit late. I apologize for it, but we're back on track. And I want to welcome you all to today's edition of Policymakers Live, our final briefing for the fall of 2020. You know, folks, we've all learned to adapt to this new way of interacting with our elected officials, and we've still, during this pandemic, been able to have in-depth conversations with legislators on a number of topics important to the life sciences industry and our member companies. I want to start by offering an immense thank you to the sponsors of this edition of Policymakers Live, Amgen and Biogen. A big thank you goes out to Amgen and Biogen. Thank you for helping make MassBio continue to advance our mission of making Massachusetts the best place in the world for the life sciences. And you all know we would not be the best place in the world for the life sciences if academia and industry and government didn't continue to work in a true partnership. And our partner from government this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is Senator Joan Lovely. So I want to welcome Senator Lovely to today's edition of Policymakers Live. Little bit of background on the senator. She's serving in her fourth term as the state senator for the Second Essex District, which includes Beverly, Danvers, Peabody, Salem, and Topsfield. She's currently a member of the Senate leadership, holding the very important position of Assistant Majority Leader. Prior to joining the legislature, the senator served 15 years as a member of the Salem City Council, 6 of them as a ward councilor and 9 as a councilor at large. You have certainly done your time, Senator. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the Senate's plans for the rest of the session, which is a unique session, to say the least, and what initiatives that are important to you, not only as we grapple the COVID-19 pandemic, but some other things that you're working on, and we'll get into that. And before we start, Senator, hey, thank you for joining us on a Friday. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing, but thank you for being here with us. So welcome.
Thank you, Bob. It's a pleasure to be here and to present some of my thoughts to your membership and your audience today. I'm very, very happy to participate. So thank you.
No, thank you. Before we get into some of the topics, just, you know, this is a kind of a weird session, right? Because we're responding to the times, you know, legislating remotely, extension of the formal session past the July 31st deadline. Like, what do you see as some of the challenges? And are there any benefits that you've seen as a result of the pandemic?
So, you know, we're all going through challenges with the pandemic, and, you know, thankful for these platforms like Zoom that we are still able to connect. And if anything, I think it's made us very efficient. I mean, let me tell you, we miss being in the State House. We closed down mid-March like everybody else. I've been in about every other week to open the mail and water the plants and just to get a feel for the State House. And I'll tell you, walking through right now, it's just a ghost. It's a ghost of a building, but we know that building has so much vitality and so much energy, and we have a lot of work that we're getting done, a lot of good work. So we're doing it remotely. So, you know, one of the benefits, frankly, is that cut 3 hours of commute time out of my day.
Yeah.
So if anything, the gain from that is to be able to convert that time to more work time, a little more personal time too, but certainly more work time. And, you know, and I actually have to give a shout out to my Western Mass colleagues who have a much longer commute than I do, you know, so.
That's right.
So, you know, they've been able to also kind of convert that time to be good work time. You know, and so Zoom, I'm on Microsoft Teams every day with my staff. That's a platform we have in the State House. And, you know, so interacting with staff, I've got 5 staff that they're rock stars. I mean, they just completely support me and the office and our policy and what we're doing, and certainly our constituent work, which is a big part of the job. But certainly this year, we've responded to a lot of unemployment. Tremendous amount of unemployment issues for people just trying to access the system. You know, people are hurting. So, but you know, some of the challenges too are missing personal connections with colleagues, you know. Now we Zoom caucus, you know, and so that's very different than seeing each other, running into each other in the building, testifying at hearings, being in formal session together. It's not safe. You know, we just had formal session. The Senate just finished our budget Wednesday night. There were a handful of colleagues in the chamber with staff just because of safety. They were all COVID tested too, to make sure that everyone was COVID free. to be in that space together. But, you know, the message to the rest of us was, please connect from remotely from wherever you want to do that. So, you know, it's been challenging, but like I said, it's also, it's come with some benefits. I do hope we stay with Zoom platforms going forward once we are able to get back together, because we're certainly able to make it more efficient that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, let's talk about in your role as Senate Chair of the Ellen Story Commission on Postpartum Depression, right? Something a very important unmet medical need, in my opinion, that our industry is focusing on. And also as a member of the Special Senate Committee on Opioid Addiction Prevention, treatment and recovery options, right? Mental health is so important, especially in light of this pandemic as well. You know, you're aware of the need for support programs for those facing mental health issues. And now in the world of COVID-19, with these issues being compounded, let's have a little bit of a discussion and share your thoughts on the challenges and possible solutions.
So, you know, Bob, this is huge. When I first got into the State House, I actually got a call from a constituent who said, what do you know about postpartum depression? And are you aware there's a commission at the State House? Well, I was not aware as a new senator that there was a commission, and now I'm the Senate chair of this commission. And it's a little more than 30 members throughout all the medical community who come together to really solve these problems of postpartum depression, something we don't talk about enough, these perinatal mental health issues. You know, let's face it, you know, with a pandemic, we've got a lot of isolation. People are not able to see each other. Support systems aren't what they used to be. And, you know, some people, frankly, don't have support systems. And so take a pregnant woman and who has some depression already. Sometimes a pregnancy will exacerbate that. Now, I'm going to talk from experience. Just this year, I'm a new grandmother. I have a granddaughter who is 3 weeks old.
Congratulations.
3 weeks old. So I got to see.
Oh, congrats.
Thanks. Thank you. So I got to see my own daughter and her husband, how they navigated what I would call a pandemic pregnancy. You know, there were no in-person or very few in-person appointments for her. It was telehealth. And when she did get to see the obstetrician, her husband couldn't go see her. So add in a significant mental health issue with that, and, you know, we can see things spiral out of control. So, you know, the Postpartum Depression Commission has worked on this with initiatives. There's a great website on mass.gov, the Department of Public Health, on postpartum depression. Anybody who wants to just, you know, Google that, take a look at that. And just this session as well, you know that we passed emergency legislation to allow for telehealth.
Yes.
So thankful for that, you know, people who are having issues, whether physical or mental health, there is telehealth available, and that has really taken off. And we actually do see that will continue post-pandemic, that people will be able to access healthcare through telehealth visits. We think it's very important. There's another campaign that was just launched. It's #MoreToTheStory. That's also on mass.gov. And that encourages people, everybody, me and you, you know, if you think someone is struggling and you say, are you okay? Is everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine. You know, maybe dig a little deeper, you know, not deep probing questions, but, you know, if you're concerned about somebody, you know, really, you know, look after them, because a lot of times when people have a mental health condition, they'll hide it because of stigma. They don't want people to know. You know, I will reveal that I have panic disorder. I've had it my whole adult life, you know, and I've gotten some good help with that, and it's been in check for decades, but still it's something that never goes away. So, you know, people just, you know, and I talk about it because I don't want, you know, I don't want that feeling of stigma. Someone else, again, listening to today could say, geez, I've got anxiety too, you know, so there's help out there. So #MoreToTheStory. It's a great campaign. And I think that people, you know, should take a look at that, especially now.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you for being committed to these areas of unmet medical need. I know, granted, we talk a lot, and obviously we need to talk a lot about COVID-19. There will be some silver linings that come from this, like telehealth, that won't go away afterwards. I think we're going to look at transportation a lot different after all of this, and that's a silver lining. We've got over 90 companies that are doing COVID-19 related research as it relates to therapeutics, diagnostics, and vaccines. We got more good news today that the Pfizer vaccine is they've applied for an EUA. That will be approved in real short order. We've got Moderna, homegrown right here in Massachusetts. That'll be approved shortly, but we can't take our eye off all the other balls that are important, like solving unmet medical need for all these different indications. And it's wonderful to have a champion like you that is working with our industry to focus on postpartum. Ellen Story, what an amazing leader she was, and a former colleague of mine, a wonderful person. And when you look at the fact that we have companies like Sage that got the first drug approved for postpartum depression. When you look at addiction, we have several member companies that are looking to invent non-opioid painkillers with the same analgesic property. I'm just glad when I get to use the word analgesic. I couldn't even say it 10 years ago. But when you think about how do we solve these problems, we have to come up with therapies that do assist in pain treatment that are not addictive. Right? In mental health and wellness, if we don't continue to focus on wellness, what's the sense of even doing this? Right? So we can't do that without your help. Thank you for being a champion. Let's talk about some more other good news. Guys, we're going to end up this Friday. We're going to end with so much good news that everyone's going to feel great, even though we are in the midst of a pandemic. When I look at the life sciences in the past 13 and a half years that I've been on board here at MassBio, the most amazing thing is the growth across the Commonwealth. It isn't just about Kendall Square. It isn't just about the Seaport District in Boston, right? It's across the Commonwealth. And we have so many amazing clusters that are popping up. But when I think of your district, right? And when you think of what's happening at Cumming Center in Beverly and all around the towns in your district, from North Shore Interventures as an accelerator and great landlords and developers. Tell us a little bit, why your district and how has it benefited?
Well, I will tell you, the Cumming Center in Beverly is just tremendous. Now, I grew up in Beverly, right down the street from the old United Shoe Machinery Corp. I remember that as a factory. And then it closed in the 80s, and now it has been transformed into this amazing over 500 businesses that are in that center, and better than almost 75 that are just in the bio life sciences, and that number is growing. And you mentioned North Shore Interventures. I've been to their facility many times. They're a startup incubator for these small businesses. And if you look at their numbers, they've incubated 62 companies, created almost 500 jobs. They've got patent applications of almost 400 patent applications, and internships, almost 250 internships alone for that one company at the Cumming Center at North Shore Interventures. Just can't say enough about them and all of the life sciences and biosciences that are now growing in that center. And what's great about being in Beverly, you know what, you're not in the city, no slant to the city, but you're close to 128. You're right there. Everything's right there, and it's just a great venue. I couldn't be more thrilled that it's right here in my district. So it's terrific.
No, it's fabulous. And right now, from an economic development standpoint, we're seeing here in the Commonwealth, and this is important for the audience to know. And if you have any questions, if you want to type it into the chat function, the folks over at Midnight Brunch, our production firm, will get the questions to me. So feel free to ask. But when you look at what's been going on in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts right now as it relates to growth and economic development, we have more site selection searches for biomanufacturing, for making large molecule drugs, viral vectors, all the things that are involved with making tricky things. We're good at it here. And obviously that's not going to be piled into Boston proper or Cambridge proper or Worcester proper, but all these communities around the area are benefiting from that growth off of 93, off of 95, 128, right? These are great spots for it. And the growth is truly tremendous. To hear those numbers coming out of North Shore Interventures, it's amazing to see what's happened over the past decade. In the next 5 years, and because of what's happened with COVID, people realize that how important this industry is, the value that science brings to humankind is so important that we're confident that we're going to continue to grow in the space. But again, we can't do it without partners in government. So thank you for that. Let's talk about a little bit different. Let's go over to, when I think of Salem, right? I think of our good friend to the patients in the industry, Mayor Driscoll, who is always talking about the importance of tourism to Salem, especially in the fall, right? Because of certain holidays and whatnot. I can only imagine that COVID-19 has been disastrous. What are you seeing in the neighborhoods? I think of, I was elected in the town of Dedham for many years, and we're seeing so many challenges in our downtown area, and we're not even a hotbed for tourism like Salem is. So how are you dealing with that? What are you seeing?
It's been tough. So, Salem and tourism just go hand in hand. We just have such a wonderful city that people want to visit, especially during October. So during October, Governor Baker and Mayor Driscoll, had to have two press conferences just to let people know that, listen, Haunted Happenings is not happening this year. Please don't come in on Halloween. We'll have 500,000 to 750,000 people come to Salem on Halloween alone. But every weekend in October leading up to it is very, very busy. And it's great for our local economy. It's great for our businesses, especially our restaurants. And that's been very difficult this year. So, we've reached out, for the PPP loans, for any type of thing that we can, continue to keep these businesses alive. But this is when they break their bread and butter, is during the month of October. It's been very difficult. Big shout out to Mayor Driscoll. She and I served on the city council together, and then she was mayor, I was in the council, a really strong leader for the community. It's been difficult, I will admit. And, we did have a lot of people come in October. I don't know that we've heard of a spike or a surge from that. A lot of people were mask compliant. It was a little difficult to distance, in the streets. But I will give a big shout out to our public safety, our police department, and, for really helping with that. It's been tough. It's been tough. I will tell you that I filed legislation to allow for phase 4 businesses that have not been able to open yet to file for real estate tax abatements, because it's going to affect the the value of their business and their property. So that's still winding its way through the legislature, but the municipalities don't pay that abatement if the one is granted. It's actually the state will pick that up, because the municipalities, it's not their fault that businesses haven't been able to open. It's because of the pandemic. We have to stay safe and well, and so it's been hard. But I will tell you, we're looking forward to getting past this and getting everything back to our normal, and inviting all the guests, anybody who wants to come to Salem back. We just did Hampton Inn just opened an absolutely gorgeous hotel right downtown. I think it's 150 rooms. It's gorgeous. So we're waiting to be able to get back to normal and get people back here.
Well, I'll tell you, as a boater, I enjoy heading north and spending time up in Salem Harbor. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It is truly, truly beautiful. You have a wonderful harbor
too.
Master, great amenities. So always want to give a plug for the harbor master up there as well.
Thank you.
When you think of legislative business, we all know it's slow between the primary and general elections, but typically, look at last week, the House finished their debate on the fiscal year 2021 budget. You guys debated it this week on the Senate side, and the governor is hoping that you can get your final recommendations to him by Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a week from yesterday, right?
Right.
Is this realistic? Maybe I'm a little skeptical, but is this realistic?
That's realistic. Absolutely. Everyone knows that we are operating under very non-traditional circumstances. We've had to, file 1/12 budgets for July, August, September, October, November. So to get this budget done for December through the end of next June was remarkable. Big shout out to the chairs of Senate and House Ways and Means. They did a remarkable job, and their teams. The staff is just tremendous, I do see that getting to the governor, and and having the governor turn it around and getting it done. We didn't put a lot of surprises in there.
No.
There was really, between A&F and House and Senate Ways and Means, they really worked on consensus revenue to, we had 3 consensus revenue hearings. As we were trying to figure out, where is the revenue coming from? How much? What is the actual shortfall? It was projected to be between $5 and $6 billion. it came out to just under 3 billion. And so, with rainy day and some adjustments to the budget, we were able to pass, pretty much a level funded budget with FY20. Extraordinary. So, I do see it getting to the governor. I do see him, turning it around. Hopefully not many vetoes will come back, and let's get it done.
Well, just to give a shameless plug right now, while we have you, on behalf of everybody in the office on the call right now, we want to let you know that, we will be reaching out to the conferees to talk about the importance of extending co-payment assistance. It did make it into the House budget. It wasn't in the language on the Senate side. We're hoping that we can continue that, because patients need that assistance for their co-payments so they can continue to take their drugs, and we'll make sure your wonderful staff knows about that.
Great.
When you think of all the different conference committees that have been deliberating this fall, there's just over 7 weeks left for formal legislative sessions. How do you envision the remainder of this year? Like, what matters? And this is kind of a leadership inside baseball thing that the folks who are on this audience are all, people that are familiar with the building. What matters do you think make it to the finish line? And how difficult is it to triage or prioritize those things? Because like you said, even in the budget, right? It's kind of bare bones. You can't be putting any extra surprises in there because it needs to get done.
So, I think probably, so we've got five official conference committees, a couple unofficial that are working on some bills as well. So, the one that's getting talked about the most is the police reform bill. Yeah. And there was just an article in the Globe today about that, so both sides are working diligently. I will tell you from what I hear, and I don't hear a lot, I'm not on any of these conference committees. And that, so that work is done, between the conferees. And, but what I am hearing is that everyone is working very diligently. Now that we do have the budget behind us, we turn back to these, and we really want to get a lot of this major policy done. Economic development bill, critical. Transportation bond bill. We still have to plan. I mean, we have a transportation system that needs attention. Even though we're in a pandemic and we have a revenue problem, these are still things that you have to plan out into the future. I mentioned the police reform bill. We've got a climate change bill, and then the healthcare and telehealth. We're doing telehealth. We've got some great sections in the healthcare bill to be able to, again, streamline and strengthen our healthcare system. And I do believe that we are gonna see these get done. I really do believe we're gonna get done. I would say if something wouldn't get done, maybe it's climate change, because the House and Senate bills are a bit different. But again, I don't know the inside on that. So I have sent letters to the conferees expressing different supports for the bills. And so, very hopeful. And I know that they're working hard.
Yeah, it's amazing to see the amount of work that is being done, that needs to be done during different. And as a society, we don't deal with change very well. And when you're in an institutional environment like the oldest continuously meeting legislature in the United States of America, this change doesn't come easy. But we can't thank you enough. And again, we're up against it on time. Senator, I told you that this would go by so fast. I just want to close out by saying thank you for caring about patients. Thank you for being so caring for your constituents. Thank you for caring about the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you for your service. You're such a wonderful, nice person. And we really love working with you and your staff. So thank you. Thank you for what you do. You deserve a lot of credit. So thank you. And folks in the audience, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all that you do. I want to thank Amgen and Biogen again for making this possible. Our Policymakers Live series has been so effective over the past 7 months that we can't thank our sponsors enough for keeping the conversation going. I want to announce our future events, and man, this is weird because this was our last Policymakers Live for the year 2020. We're not going to have our next event until the MassBio Policy Breakfast, which is on Wednesday, January 27th. Obviously, it's going to be virtual this year. We'll get that information out to you. And going into 2021, folks, what we've decided to do, Policymakers Live, is going to be one event a month. So we're going to do 12 of them in 2021. And I'm telling you right now, because we're going to be back in person in 2022, because these vaccines are coming out, we're going to get them deployed, and we're going to build a nice, beautiful population immunity by Q4 of next year and get back to normal. So thank you all. Thank you, Senator Lovely. We can't thank you enough for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Have a great weekend, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving.